Welcome to C-SPAM, where we cover courtroom and governmental proceedings. In tonight's episode, we're going to cover the excessive force case brought against former trooper Jason Young. Jason Young was working as a state trooper and responding to a DUI-related car chase when he was accused of using excessive force to stop the pursuit. Specifically, for using an illegal head-on pit maneuver in his Camaro police pursuit vehicle. The illegal pit maneuver resulted in bodily harm to the vehicle's occupants, John Cates and Tony Moped. Let's take a look at dashcam footage from another trooper's patrol car that captured the pit maneuver.
Oh, my head! Oh, my neck! Oh my god!
Stop running!
Oh my...
Here's the footage slowed down. Now that we have seen the illegal end to this pursuit, let's watch the court case in its entirety. Stay till the end to hear Judge Portman's ruling. Thanks for watching and enjoy.
The court will begin case of the state versus Jason J. Young for excessive force among other charges. You may be... All right, at this time we will begin opening statements. We will start with, let me get my notes. All right, the opening statement will be from the prosecution in this case. B. Smith, you are allowed to approach the podium. Or our law. Scratch that. Our law.
It's okay. He's a good friend of mine, my cousin. We're close.
Yeah, good guy.
Yeah, he sits across the table from me at Thanksgiving. Real good guy.
Okay. The floor is yours, opening statement.
All right, thank you, Your Honor. Thank you, everybody, for coming. Thank you for the people, the state of San Andreas. We have a case today, pretty cut and dry, simple. It's going to be State versus Mr. Young, who was once employed by the San Andreas State Troopers. This case pertains to the incident that took place with John Cates and the early Tony Moped, who obviously passed away at some point prior to this trial, so he is no longer with us, so condolences to his family. This case is going to involve Mr. Young on the charges of tampering with evidence, assault with a deadly weapon, preventable injury sustained, excessive force, violating human rights, and police misconduct. Right now, Mr. Young is still serving time and has served time until this court case has happened. But as of right now, we're looking to push those charges onto him, and I will be more than happy to elaborate once Mr. Pierce puts his opening statements out. Nothing further, Your Honor.
Thank you, Mr. Law. You may be seated. Mr. Pierce, the podium is yours for an opening statement.
Good afternoon, Your Honor. My name is Axel Pierce, and I'm here today to represent my client, Mr. Young. This case is about alleged use of excessive force by my client. On the day of the incident, Mr. Young responded to an active chase where the suspect, Mr. Moped, had been evading police. The suspect had been driving in opposite lanes of traffic, and this is all displayed in the video that had been provided to court. Mr. Moped was suspected to be under the influence and has been evading police at high rates of speed, weaving in and out of oncoming traffic. I would like to request your attention at around the 4-minute mark to 5 minutes of video exhibit A.
Or you're driving pretty slow. You just 10-50'd into a vehicle.
Where the suspect is going into oncoming traffic.
Your Honor, objection to the opening statement?
On
Relevance, Mr. Moped was not the driver.
Sustained. That's accurate.
Okay.
Please proceed with your opening statements. Remember that you will have time to go through your evidence with witnesses in depth at a secondary phase of the trial.
Well, I feel like this is relevant because I'm about to touch another part that is, I believe, relevant to the case, and it's relevant that this Mr. Moped was in the vehicle at the time this happened. So,
okay. Would you like to pull up the video then?
Well, I would like to finish this statement and then.
Oh, my mistake. I cut you off. By all means.
Okay. So the suspect hits a local vehicle at roughly 100 miles per hour and continues to evade the police. When Mr. Young arrived at the scene, he was aware that the suspect had been endangering other civilian lives, and he felt that he had to stop the suspect from going back onto public roads. So he pinned the suspect car towards a barrier at roughly 50 miles per hour. I believe that given these circumstances, there should not be any criminal charges towards my client, as he has no prior incidents and he has already had been removed from his position, which I believe is an appropriate punishment in this case. Your Honor, I would also like to have your attention towards the medical record of Mr. Moped. In the report, it is stated that Mr. Moped had his legs pinned against the steering wheel and he suffered cuts from the glass shards. As far as I am aware, when it comes to leg injuries and spinal injuries, those of that sort that impact your mobility, generally these injuries manifest immediately after the time of a crash and limit your mobility. They usually do not manifest after a period of time has passed. So, in this regard, it does not make sense that the suspect had the mobility to flee the police, as shown in video Exhibit A at the 6-minute mark. The
Stop
suspect
running.
scales a high fence
Stop
and proceeds to
running.
run on foot
Stop running. Stop running. I'm gonna tase you. Stop running. You better stop running. I'm gonna tase
until
your
he gets
ass.
tased and
Stop
cuffed,
running.
then
Last
taken
chance, buddy.
into custody. I would like to hear a medical expert's opinion on how the suspect shown no signs of lack of mobility to allegedly later on having permanent damage, and allegedly sustained injuries not when he crashed going at 100 miles per hour, but when he was pitted roughly 50 to 60 miles per hour. This is all from my opening statement, Your Honor.
Thank you, Mr. Pierce. At this time, we will start to do direct examination of the witnesses. We will start with any witnesses that the prosecution has.
Absolutely. First, I'm going to go ahead and call up Mr. Matt Smith to the stand.
Mr. Matt Smith, you may approach the stand. Before we begin, will you please state your name?
It'll be Matt Smith.
Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do, Your Honor.
Please proceed.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Smith. So, go ahead and tell me a little bit about yourself and your time being in the city. What do you do for a living?
I'm the Assistant Commissioner to the State Troopers.
Okay, how long have you done that for?
That exact position, a few months. My entire time in the department will be 1 year come October.
Okay, how long have you been active for the LEO position?
My entire time in the city.
Okay, and do you know the defendant sitting on the other side with the orange jumpsuit?
Yes, sir.
Who is that man to you?
That is Jason Young.
Okay, how do you know him?
He is he was a buddy of mine. He joined the department with me, actually. We rose through the ranks relatively together, towards the point where it was even a competition for the position which I hold.
Okay, and in your tenure of knowing him, can you go ahead and state for the record to the open court at this time and to the judge any disciplinary actions or any actions you've had with Mr. Young to where his integrity or decision-making skills were taken into effect?
Nothing that would threaten his job, obviously, until this incident that we're discussing today. There has been a few minor instances in terms of slight excessive force, but nothing major. Each of those instances was handled case by case. And
can you give me an example of one of the instances?
Give me 1 second. I'll pull one up.
Thank you.
A few days before this instance we're discussing today, he had one administrative action for disrespecting of the chain of command. He basically just kind of lost his temper in the RTO, and called some people out with using some derogatory terms and stuff.
So it's safe to say he's a hothead, correct?
I would agree he can get a little hot-headed, yes.
Okay. Now, if you can quote your SOP verbatim for me, in your SOP, what is the standard procedure when involved in a 1080R pursuit, so to speak, when you're pursuing a suspect?
If you would like it verbatim, give me 1 second.
Well, I want you to just highlight or to speak from the exact context of that. In your SOP, does it state anywhere that you are allowed to go head-on with a vehicle and pin that vehicle into a standardized wall?
No, I believe it is actually written that is not something you are to do at all.
Okay, so you guys do train not to do that and not to be aggressive when coming into head-on collisions with vehicles.
Yeah, anything like that would require approval from, honestly, like the highest of command, because something like that is not something we can do. It's not something that is safe. It puts not only injuries at risk, but lives at risk. Going head on to a car at 100 miles an hour is definitely not something you normally walk away
And on
from.
that day in question, did he ever reach out to yourself or any supervisor at that time for permission to do that?
I was not in the city during that time. I was involved in reviewing the actions of everyone there after the fact. The next day, I was not actually involved at that time, and I'm not aware of if approval was granted. However, I do believe at that time he would have been the highest member from state in the city.
Okay. And then what is your policy on body camera footage required whenever there's a pursuit going on?
Body camera footage is required. We recommend that you run it for your entire shift. However, at bare minimum, you are required to have it free. As at the beginning of a scene, you activate it and record that scene.
Okay, so for today in
minimum.
question, there would be no reason why there wouldn't be substantial body cam or dash cam for this incident, correct?
Yeah, no reason you shouldn't have it.
Okay. Nothing further, Your Honor, for Mr. Smith. You can step down.
Okay. Thank you.
Your Honor, next one I want to call up is Mr. John Cates.
Mr. Cates, you're going to approach the podium.
So you're gonna need his cuffs removed.
Yeah, you can remove the cuffs for him.
That's fine. These fine officers here know how to do their job. Real quick, before we start, can you please state your name?
John Cates.
Can I have you speak up a little bit, if possible?
I'm sorry, it's going to be John Cates. Jonathan.
Awesome. Thank you, sir. And do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do, yes, sir.
All right, thank you. The witness is yours, Mr. Law.
Thank you, Your Honor. How you doing, Mr. Cates?
Oh, I'm doing pretty good. A little thirsty, but I'm good.
All right, I'll get you some water here when we're done.
water, we can give you more.
Yeah.
Okay.
We'll get to you in a second. All right, Mr. Cates. So real quick, for the day in question, can you go ahead and give me just a basic synopsis of Mr. Tony Moped and yourselves' day and activities on the day of this incident?
Okay, well, we met at the Mega Mall. He seemed like a cool dude, so we just started riding around together. Went to the bar, had a couple drinks, and we left. We started driving. Oh, I'm sorry, we started driving and drinking. Well, we was at the bar before that. Then we started driving. We got pulled over, and we took off, and I guess we got in a chase, and we ended up getting hit on collision, pretty much.
Okay. And when the chase was going on at any point in time, did an officer attempt to pit you or pit your car at any point in time when you were being pursued?
No, sir.
Okay. So during the entire course of the incident, I know that the driver of your said vehicle that you were in went against oncoming traffic. Was that correct?
Yes, sir.
Correct. And the police did pursue?
Yes, sir.
And you guys didn't do anything violent against the police, correct?
No, sir.
Okay. So when did the pursuit come to a conclusion? At what location?
It was behind the casino at the racetrack. Moped drove around there. He was trying to lose the cops, I guess. We tried to swerve away from the cops. I didn't want to injure nobody, and we kind of spun out, and then the officer over here, he just came in with his Mustang and just rammed us into a wall.
Was it a Mustang or was it a Camaro?
I want to say it was a Mustang, but I could be wrong. I'm not really good with cars.
Okay, no problem. We can look at that in the video. So in relation to the pursuit, what injuries did you sustain, or what was your role after the vehicle driven by Mr. Young made contact with you? Where were you at, and what was your next bounds? What did the cops do as soon as that contact happened with the vehicle and yourself?
Well, Mr. Moped, he got out and ran, so I didn't feel safe with all the cops, so I got out and ran. I was injured, but I hopped over a fence.
But it's safe to say adrenaline is what carried you through the pains and the aches, and obviously the superhuman ability that you exhibited.
Yeah, yes, sir. I mean, I was a little hyped up from the alcohol helped a little bit.
I mean, like I said, if you were under the influence, well, nobody's disagreeing that you guys weren't impaired. Obviously, the mixture of that and adrenaline can do some crazy things to the body, and we all know this.
Yes, sir.
Okay, and then what happened after you guys exited the vehicle?
Well, I know Moped, I think he ran, and I hopped over the fence and ran, and I ended up getting tased and tackled.
Okay, and did you resist the officers at any point in time?
I'm not gonna lie, I did. I ran.
Oh, that's fine. So now, as what would your reasoning be as far as Mr. Young hitting you guys head on? Were you guys aiming guns at him? Were you veering towards him in an aggressive manner?
Oh no, we do. I mean, I don't know about Mr. Moped, but me personally, I didn't have a gun. You know, and then I kept telling them to swerve away from all the cops, so we didn't hit them. I wasn't
And Your
trying
Honor,
to
as you can
injure
see in the
nobody.
video, the suspect's car, in this case, Mr. Moped and Mr. Cates, veered to the left of the racetrack away from Mr. Young's patrol car, and Mr. Young faced his patrol car into the suspect's car, pinning it up against the guardrail. And like it was stated by the counter defense, it was at 50 miles an hour estimated range.
Noted.
Was it safe to say, Case, that your airbags deployed?
Yes.
Okay. What injuries did you sustain from that incident?
I had some chest pain and some leg pain, and then I also had some bruises to my face from the airbag.
Okay. And how are you feeling today?
Oh, I'm okay. You know, it still hurts a little bit in my chest if I, move it weird, but I'm good.
All right. Your Honor, nothing further, Mr. Cates.
All right, you may be seated, Mr. Cates. Do you have any other witnesses, Mr. Law?
I do. I'm going to go ahead and call up Mr. Young to the stand.
Mr. Young,
I need
please approach
recuff.
the podium.
Yep, 1 second.
Can I get uncuffed?
Yeah, thank you, DJ, or Warden DJ. All right, please state your name.
Jason Young.
Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, the witness is yours, Mr. Law.
Thank you, Your Honor. All right, Mr. Young, how you doing today?
Okay, I guess.
All right. So go ahead and tell me a little about yourself. How long you been in the city for, and what was your primary job in this city?
I have been in the city almost a year. I was captain for the San Andreas State Police. I've been in state the whole time I've been in the city, pretty much.
Okay. And you started out as a cadet?
Yes, sir.
Okay. You worked your way up?
I started working under Alex Ghost.
Okay. And how long did it take you roughly to get to your captain spot?
I would say 8 months or so.
Okay. Do you have any prior Leo training prior to this?
I do.
Okay. Where at?
It was in another city.
Okay. How long did you do that for?
I did that for 5 months.
Okay. So a little over a year overall for Leo training, correct?
Yes, sir.
So safe to say you're still learning the job, right?
Yes, sir.
So go ahead and recount the incident in question that you go ahead and responded to with Mr. Moped and Mr. Cates, if you can, to the best of your knowledge.
All right. So I was on a traffic stop with a vehicle. Just can't remember where I was exactly. I think it was somewhere in the city when I had gotten a call about a 1080. So I went back to the car and I told them they were free to go. They were getting a warning.
And what did you initially stop that car for?
Speeding.
Okay. Well, what was the speed of that car that you clocked and you had stopped and pulled over?
It was like 586 over.
Okay.
It's just they had made a loop and came back by me again, so I was trying to make sure they were okay.
Okay.
After that, I finally got to the pursuit. I caught up to the pursuit when it was entering in the casino. So I was never entirely in the full chase. It was more towards the ending.
Okay.
Yeah.
From what I have seen off of that dash cam was Mr. Tony Moped driving opposite lanes of traffic.
Now, hold on. You said you seen it off of what?
Dash cam.
From who?
Do what?
You said you saw it off of the dash cam from who?
Just never mind.
Oh, Your Honor, relevant? I mean, I'm confused here. As if there's secondary knowledge of something that's being
No.
left out. So,
So is that okay? We'll strike that from the record. That component about
Yeah,
the.
just strike that. From what I've heard.
so
better-
secondhand
better
accounts. Go ahead.
term of knowledge. What I've heard.
And where did you hear it?
What? It was
Where did you
during
hear
the
it from?
chase. During the chase, that he went head on with a vehicle.
Okay.
opposite lanes of traffic. And I
Okay.
mind you, speed limit on the highway is 70, 75, is it not? If you were to
Okay.
hit a car going 75 head on, would you sustain injuries?
Okay. Your Honor, I don't believe this man talked to his counsel. When I had cleared it up with the counsel, we reviewed it and we believe that that was a systematic error. That was more so on the end of a decent problem, more so than it was intentional for anybody else's eyes.
Noted. Noted, but it can be discussed.
Continue.
All right. So my actions towards the pit was I let the car
Well,
roll.
continue. You were entering the racetrack, so
Yeah.
go ahead and continue from there.
I entered the racetrack as they were turning around. They were coming oncoming lane towards me on the track. So what I had done is I let the car roll because I was going to cut them off and hopefully them having the common sense to slam on the brakes.
Now, how
Well,
fast
that
were you
didn't
going?
happen. When I let the car roll,
Well, you're
could
saying
not
let the
tell
car
you,
roll. Your
sir.
car is a manual or automatic?
It's automatic, so I
Okay.
let my foot off that gas.
Okay, so you weren't letting it roll. You were letting the engine take power. Letting it roll would be signifying you put it in neutral and the engine was not under any power. So how fast were you going at that point when you, quote-unquote, let the car roll?
I honestly, sir, could not tell you.
Okay, and then when you
But
let
I
the
was
car
not
roll, what
going
did you
very
do?
fast on a dirt track, considering most cars don't do well in dirt.
But your car was a sports car, correct?
It was.
Okay, on a dirt track. So how fast do you guesstimate you were going?
Probably 40, 45.
Okay, so
When I
40,
had let it
45 on a
roll.
dirt track. So the vehicle's coming towards you. What do you do?
Like I said, I let the car roll. Or, well, in your case, I stepped off the gas and it went forward.
Okay, and your car was facing straight, left, right?
I tried to angle it.
And which
And
way did you try to angle it?
I guess I didn't angle it far enough. And we went head on. But
Okay,
at
so
that time,
when
I
you were
felt
entering, which way were you? Where were you in the track in relation to Mr. Moped when you guys caught eyes of each other?
so
Now,
they were
I'm
at the
asking you
far end
in
of the
the honest
racetrack.
statement that we've all viewed the body cam, so we already know the answer. So I'm asking you to watch your words and realize that you could be in contempt if you try to cover anything. So go ahead and answer the question.
I'm not covering anything.
Okay.
I'm saying that they were on the far end of the racetrack. They had made a U-turn. They were coming back. That's when I had attempted to cut them off.
Okay, so when you made contact or made eyes with Mr. Moped's vehicle, you were on the far inside left of the track? If Mr. Moped's facing you, inside right, correct? Your
Yes,
left,
sir.
his right? Okay,
Yep.
and he was on your right, his left, far right, right?
Yes.
Okay, so you guys were parallel to each other, opposite sides of the track.
Yes, sir.
Okay, Mr. Moped continued up the right side of the track, correct? And you were still on the inside?
Yes.
Okay, so then you went ahead, and when Mr. Moped was getting closer to you, what did you do?
And forward to driving around.
Like I said, that's when I tried to angle the car. I guess it didn't angle.
You
and
guessed
we
it didn't
went head
angle?
on.
I mean, you're the operator of the vehicle. You're going to tell me that you didn't have control of your car as an officer?
No, I have control of my car, sir.
Oh, my head. Oh,
Then
my neck.
why did you intentionally angle it to the front and make contact with their right quarter panel, pinning them against the wall at 50 miles an hour?
That must be an issue error too.
Your Honor,
I
strike that from the record because obviously this man's grasping for straws here. Mr. Young, it's clear that you angled your car to the right when Mr. Moped's vehicle was coming towards you. You didn't let the vehicle roll. There wasn't a you let it go and you just happened to not turn far enough. We consider all day and pity pat, but let's be honest here and be honest for the record because it's only going to help your case. I mean, we can watch the body cam and obviously the dash cam from the officers that were there who saw you do it. Save yourself the embarrassment of continuing down this path, and let's keep it transparent, please. So once again,
Your
I ask
Honor,
you,
I'm done with this, man.
Your Honor, he doesn't have that
it's,
choice.
well, yeah, it's his. But I do remind you.
I plead the fifth.
Well, hold on.
Your
I
Honor,
do
he's in
remind
contempt
you-
if he's not going to talk anymore.
Give me a moment. Mr. Law, I do remind you that this is a time to ask questions, not to provide your own assessment of one's actions. But to his point, to our law's point, you cannot, refuse this. You can plead the fifth and situationally, and that can have its own consequences. It depends on how it goes. So please continue with your questioning, and we'll see how the responses are.
Okay, so you're on the inside of the track, Mr. Moped's on the outside of the track. What do you
Yes,
do?
we've already stated this, sir.
Okay. And what happens when you're going in the track at 40, 45?
Like I said, that's when the car was going forward. I let my foot off the gas. I may have hit. I don't know where I hit him. To be honest with you, I kind of lost consciousness a little bit.
Well, you got immediately out of the car and engaged in a foot pursuit.
I did not, sir.
My head.
You did.
My neck.
It shows on the record.
Oh my god.
Stop running.
Once again, I caution
Stop
you
running.
that when you make contact with Mr. Moped's vehicle,
Stop running.
his door is already open when you make contact with the passenger side of that vehicle. So put that in perspective that you were saying that you just let the car roll. But Mr. Moped's vehicle came to a complete stop. So I caution you again, I'm only asking a question. What happened when you turned your wheel to the right and let the car roll?
We hit each other. Like, you know.
Did you try to avoid the collision?
At that point, yeah. I just slammed on the brakes. Like that.
Did you turn the wheel and try to
couldn't
avoid
tell
making
you.
contact?
I guess they floored it or something. I don't know, man.
No, I'm asking, did you try to correct yourself?
I did. I tried to correct myself.
Okay. And now, for that instance, do you have any body cam from this shift that you worked?
I do not, because at that time, like I said, I had shut my body cam off, and I wasn't rolling with body cam.
Okay, what about your dash cam?
At dash cam, I mean, like I said, if my body cam wasn't rolling, my dash cam wasn't working then.
And why was that? Was that an issue you reported to the department about a malfunction in your vehicle?
I did not, no.
Nothing further, Your Honor.
Thank you, Mr. Law. Thank you, Mr. Young. You may be seated at your podium. Do you have any further witnesses, Mr. Law?
No, sir. Thank you, Your Honor.
At this time, we will now begin the... we will begin cross-examination. If you want to speak to any of those clients, Pierce, you can speak to them right now, or witnesses right now.
Okay, I would like to bring forth Mr. Young again.
Is that the first? You have the opportunity to speak to both all three witnesses. We were supposed to have a cross-examination there. So, do you intend to speak to all three, and you want to start with Young? Is that your plan?
I'll just speak to Young.
Okay, that's all we need. Young, you may approach the podium. He might need to be uncuffed. I'm not 100%. There you go. Thank you, Mr. Young. Please approach the podium. You are still under oath from your previous statement, so the witness is yours, Mr. Pierce.
Okay. Before you entered the scene, the active 1080, what was the radio communication like?
So it was very chaotic. It normally gets chaotic when 1080s happen.
Okay. What kind of behavior was being transmitted through the radio? Like, what did the other officers in the chase say in regards to the chase?
So pretty much it was coming through as reckless driving. There wasn't really much like behavior-wise that was said on the radio.
Okay. When you entered the chase, what did you do as you went into the racetrack?
So when I went into the racetrack, I was trying to get them. They had already been on the track, so I was trying to catch up. At that point, I came down that straightaway, the inside lane. So I had tried to do what I thought was proper and stop one of the suspects, or stop the suspect vehicle. It didn't pan out the way that I had wanted it to. And
okay. What were the conditions like on the racetrack on that day?
well, wasn't bad or anything. It was just the cars kind of got squirrely on the dirt. And I believe that we had priors to running into Mr. Tony Moped It's not the first DUI charge that man has had or running from the police. I've dealt with him multiple times. Leading up to that day, I believe I had stopped him once.
Okay.
For, I think it was a red light ticket.
All right. Why did you attempt to pit his vehicle?
I'm sorry?
Why did you attempt to pit Mr. Moped's vehicle?
I felt that he was a harm to other citizens on the road and that he could have been a harm to himself.
Your Honor, contempt? On the grounds this individual just stated the total opposite story to the open court, that he actually didn't commit the initial instance of a pit and tried to maneuver away from the individual.
I'm not going to go with contempt, but I will say sustained. Will you please clarify your statement?
What do you mean, Honor?
Well, based off of this, you're giving conflicting information. Which answer is it?
So, like I said before, this guy kept pestering me with other opposite questions and not letting me finish my story. I did. I did what I thought was best, like I had just stated. I felt he was a harm to himself and a harm to the community. So I did what I thought was necessary to try to cut the vehicle off.
Your Honor, this man just lied under oath to multiple questions from the state and is now conflicting his story to the open court.
Would you sit down and shut
Your
the hell
Honor,
up?
again, contempt.
Order in the court. Order in the court. All right.
Jeez.
If you are found to be lying under oath, that is grounds for contempt of court. Are you aware of that, Mr. Young?
Yes, Your Honor, I'm not lying.
Already
Did you lie when you were asked questions from Mr. Law?
I was not.
So is there a reason why the answers are different?
He kept pestering, going on to the next question, not letting me finish.
Your Honor, that didn't change the answers that he gave.
Objectively, that is within his right as a lawyer to perform that type of function, but it's still your responsibility to be under oath to tell the truth at any time. We did cover that when you approached the podium. Are you aware of that?
Yes.
I'm this close to holding you in contempt of court if you are to lie. I want a straight answer for these questions from your foretelling of the story. We're here to get the truth. It will only help you if you continue to tell the truth. Please continue.
Okay. So, what happened after you pitted his vehicle?
When I pitted his vehicle, Mr. John Cates got out and took off running. At that time, Mr. Tony Moped was claiming to have injuries of being caught by the steering wheel.
Okay. Did the suspects display any signs of injuries? For example, were they limping or anything of that sort?
At that time of injury, when Mr. Tony Moped was able to get out of the vehicle, he was quickly put on a stretcher, so I couldn't tell you any signs of limping or anything. As for Mr. Cates, he took off running. He was tased, so I would assume he had maybe some limping issues.
Okay. That is all for now, Your Honor.
All right, you may be seated. Would you like to cross-examine any of... Hello? Would you like to cross-examine any of the other witnesses, Pierce?
No.
All right. If there are no other witnesses, do you have any new witnesses to present?
I do not, sir.
All right. After cross-examination,
Your Honor, I'd like to add one more thing to the record, if you don't mind.
you can have another statement. You were about to move into closing statements. Is it something that you can cover than that?
Oh, yeah, absolutely, Your Honor, sorry.
All right. So we're going to move into closing statements. The prosecution has the podium.
Thank you, Your Honor. Closing out today with State versus Young. Your Honor, this goes to show the people in the citizens of San Andreas and you and all the Leos and everybody in this building that Mr. Young is nothing but a pathological liar, and he'll do nothing but to cover his tracks.
Yeah,
I
fuck
want to.
you,
I want a
buddy.
motion. Watch your mouth.
Order in the court.
Stop.
Order in the
Fuck
court.
you.
Order in the court. You will be held in the. Sir.
Go ahead.
Contempt.
Last
That's
warning.
already
Last
contempt.
warning. You're going to jail if you continue to speak out.
Like I was saying, Your Honor, again, this man shows no restraint, no self-respect, or no dignity as far as him interacting with the citizens of the city goes. In this instant, just as you've seen in this courtroom today, he lashes out and he does things vindictively. He already stated for the record with convicting stories that this is his first, second, third run-in with these individuals. So I'm willing to say he's targeting these individuals with the Civil Rights Act of 1871 under the 42 United States Supreme Court. Section A claims and alleges that under the color of law, a violation of the plaintiff's constitutional right, the use of excessive force constitutes a valid claim under the Section 1983 because it violates the Fourth Amendment against excessive force. So like I said, he uses law enforcement immunity in bad faith and outside the scope of their duties with multiple SOP violations, multiple constitutional right violations, and obviously just everything in disregard for public safety. And it goes to show today that he'll do anything to change his story, to try to take the light off of him, as seen today when I questioned him in relation to these individuals. Mr. Cates and Mr. Moped didn't deserve to be handled how they did. Every criminal deserves a new trial every single day they're on the streets and every time they're encountered by an officer. So today I'm asking that Mr. Young be locked up and serve the time for the crimes he committed, the restitutions, and no longer be allowed to be employed in the state with any whitelisted job that entails law enforcement or anything involving the citizens in the city. He doesn't deserve to be on the forefront. He deserves to be in the very bottom of the barrel and never looked at again, Your Honor. Nothing further.
Before you step down,
Yes, sir.
will you please objectively list what you are requesting as the ruling?
Absolutely. Stand by 1 second, Your Honor. I have it written down. All right, Your Honor. So at this time, I'm seeking the removal of his LEO certification, blacklist from all whitelisted jobs. As I stated, he doesn't deserve to be involved. Mr. Moped's untimely passing, obviously, he was going to save this scumbag from paying him anything, which is a benefit to him. He is also to pay the state and the state of San Andreas $2 million in fines and damages that he incurred while being employed with them to the vehicle and to the property, and the defamation of character to the state. He is also to serve a minimum of 240 months in jail for the crimes and being charged as a criminal and judged on a panel of appeals today, as well as in front of Mr. Smith and the Assistant Commissioner, as well as you, Your Honor. Nothing further.
All right. So removal of LEO, blacklist from future whitelisted or official jobs. State, he owes the state $2 million.
Well,
for different,
we can adjust that, Your Honor. That was based on the prior economy.
Original. Okay.
Correct, sir. And the jail time stands. I know we originally talked about that, but judging by his outbursts today, we'll stick with the 240.
Understood. As long as the amount paid to the state is adjusted for the current climate, then I'm okay with or excuse me, I'm not okay with that. I understand your closing statement. Closing statement from Mr. Pierce. The podium is yours. Thank you.
Your Honor, on the day of the chase, it was clearly communicated through the radio that the suspect was endangering other people's lives, and he was driving at very high rates of speed in the oncoming traffic and swerving in and out of traffic. Given the context that he was under the influence and he had priors of being under the influence while driving, I believe that it's fair to assume that the pit attempt was warranted. And given the conditions of the track, that it was raining on the day and it was a dirt track, I believe it is safe to assume that you cannot have proper control of your vehicle. And there is conflicting evidence when it comes to the severity of the injuries, as you have suspects fleeing away from the car and climbing over a fence after allegedly sustaining these injuries that would limit their mobility. That is all for my closing statement.
Before you step down, Mr. Pierce, would you please
Yes, sir.
state objectively a list of what you're looking to obtain as a ruling?
I believe that Mr. Young has not shown any anything that would warrant criminal charges put against him. I believe that him losing his job and the ability to get a law enforcement job in the future is a warranted punishment for his misconduct.
So you're saying your outcome is blacklisted from official jobs as well as no criminal charges?
Yes.
Thank you. You may be seated.
Your Honor, one more thing to add for you before you step away for your deliberation.
Okay, I'm listening.
I urge you, with the city and the state behind me, to use due caution when your judgment with this individual here, on the basis that he can't be held, he can't be honored, nothing can be true or held contempt to him. So, like I said, Your Honor, I hope and pray that obviously you take everything into account. The innocent death of Mr. Moped could or could not have been to the actions of Mr. Young. A life was lost nonetheless, and obviously these individuals were put in this incident because of Mr. Young. Obviously, people suffered, and that needs to be taken into account, Your Honor.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Law. I definitely understand that point from your closing statement. I appreciate you repeating it. I will take that into consideration during my deliberation, but at this time I will be deliberating, so give me a 5-minute recess. I will come back. You feel free to speak amongst yourselves. Please keep it civil. There are officers around. This is a federal building. Thank you for your time.
Mr. Smith?
Yes, sir.
Hey, can you go ahead and bring Mr. Cates out as my witness and just give him a smoke break real quick while we're deliberating?
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, thank you, sir.
Amen. You deserve it, Cates.
You're a good one. Real good one.
Hey, can I go too?
That's what I'm saying. The hell?
He's in jail for murder.
Yeah, he's in jail.
Hey.
Hey, every man can be rewarded
Alleged.
through Jesus.
No,
Alleged.
he just literally said on multiple occasions.
Alleged.
He literally
Allegedly.
just admitted it.
Alleged.
Run, Cates, run!
For him to run, he gotta have a vehicle sitting across the street.
Yeah, what's up, man?
Hell nah.
We'll do that later. All right, Mr. Cates, you are now going to be charged with
But I mean,
escape from custody.
Whoa,
It is escape from custody. He ran down the road. He was
If
getting
he gonna run like that, he gotta have a game plan.
Nope, you are going to be
bro, he
charged
gets
with
an hour
escape
of
from
yard time a
custody.
day. He
You
hasn't
have the
got it
right
in
to
3
remain
years.
silent. Anything you say
Time,
can and
bro.
will be used against you in a court of law. You have the right to an attorney. If you
So,
cannot afford one, will be
I think I
appointed to
know
you by the
that
state of
already,
San Andreas.
goddamn.
I think you do know that, but you know what you're being
do.
charged against? I'm reading it.
No,
Do you
I'm
understand
okay.
those
I
rights?
understand them right.
All right. I tell you what, now would never be a more
Oh,
convenient time to
no,
request it.
Can I get away? Richard
After-
Law.
He's a DA. He can't represent.
He said
you.
Richard Law.
He's a DA.
All right, Mr. Cates, you will
I'll pay
be
you double.
you'll be booked after you're done with your service to court.
Can you tell me how much I have left anyway? You know, I've been up here for a while.
Well, you're getting more, so.
I mean, how much I'm looking at? Like a 10?
What the fuck?
It's 50 for attempted escape.
All right. The moment you've been waiting for. I'm back. I will be calling order of the court. Please get to your positions. All right, everyone is there. Without further ado, I will give my ruling on this, on the case. In the case of the state of San Andreas versus Jason Young for the charges of tampering with evidence, assault with a deadly weapon, preventable injury sustained, excessive force, violating human rights, and police misconduct. We find the defendant guilty of all charges. Jason Young is subject to removal of all LEO privileges. Jason Young is subject to the blacklisting of all city official jobs in the future. Jason Young is ordered to pay $100K in fines and fees to the state of San Andreas for defamation of character and the aforementioned criminal charges. Jason Young is to serve 240 months in the San Andreas State Pen before being released, reduced for time served to 200 months. That is the final ruling of the state of San Andreas. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Hell yeah, one last cop off the streets.
Watch him up before you're next.
Thanks for watching.